Today's video is sponsored by Blinkist. Now, Blinkist is a really cool and interesting company because they take non-fiction books and basically shorten them down to 15 minutes, blinks, which you can either read or listen to podcast style, giving you an excellent idea of the main takeaways and features of a book. And let's be honest, I think at one point or another, all of us have had a book that we've wanted to check out but just not had the time for. Blinkist helps solve that. I also think a really smart way to use Blinkist would be as an entry point into a complicated or expansive niche. For example, if you're getting into science books, there are certain authors and writing styles and topic which may serve your interests or which may not. With Blinkist, you could check out a variety of titles, then if you want more, dig down even further. For example, I recently read A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson and A Brief History of Time. Although they're both popular science books, they vary really wildly in complexity and topics. So you could check out the Blink for those books, and then if you want to dive in deeper, that's something you can do, while still getting the highlights of the other books. With Blinkist, you get unlimited offline access to over 3,000 non-fiction books condensed, along with other features like audiobook discounts and more. The first 100 people to go to the link in my description are going to get unlimited access to Blinkist for 1 week to try out. You can cancel at any time, but if you decide to sign up with Blinkist, you also get 25% off the full membership. Thank you to Blinkist. On with the content. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars video. So, while most of you are probably very familiar with the famous Mon Calamari Cruisers of the Star Wars galaxy, I bet that for a lot of you, your knowledge pretty much runs out when you get outside the movies. Of course, we see several Mon Calamari Cruiser variants in the original trilogy, really 3 main variants as part of that Rebel fleet, and of course, we've got further Mon Calamari Cruisers in the sequel trilogy. None of these compare in pure power to the Mon Calamari Cruisers that existed in Star Wars Legends, specifically the Mon Calamari Cruisers created by the New Republic after the Battle of Endor. So I've covered a lot of these individually, but I thought today I'd give a brief overview of the New Republic's history in creating new ships. Alright, so let's paint the scene. You're the New Republic and you've just defeated the Empire at the Battle of Endor, and the galaxy is fracturing and splintering apart right in front of your eyes. You establish new government, and now you've got to go in and fight the disparate parts of the Empire. What do? Well, first of all, you plan the creation of several new advanced capital ships, but before that can happen, you need a stand-in, and that's where we get the MC-80B. So I've covered this ship quite extensively in a past video, but the MC-80B was the New Republic's first attempt after Endor to make a powerful ship which could go toe-to-toe with Star Destroyers. Now, it wasn't a dramatic departure from existing Mon Calamari variants, hence it's an MC-80B, not a completely new generation, but still, this vessel had more armor, more firepower, and was just generally better suited for war than most ships available to the New Republic at that time, except for captured Imperial Star Destroyers. The most famous MC-80B was the Mon Ramonda, which was commanded for a time by Han Solo. This is still pretty early though. I wouldn't really count this as the late powerful Mon Calamari Cruisers that this video will largely be focused about, and you could arguably say the same about the MC-90. So I'm going to use some footage from Thrawn's Revenge here, and I will do so throughout this video, but the MC-90 was the New Republic's really first mass-produced Mon Calamari cruiser built to full wartime specifications rather than being some sort of refit of a civilian vessel. The MC-90 is amazing. It's one of my favorite Mon Calamari ship designs. It is a bit more standardized than most Mon Calamari cruisers, which usually have an element of randomness and uniqueness to them, and that kind of reflects the changing role of the ship. The MC-90 is meant, again, as a sort of standardized Star Destroyer analog for the New Republic. They were being slotted into defense fleets and moved throughout the galaxy, and again, were that usual combination of Mon Calamari shielding and firepower. Based on a lot of what I've read, it seems like the MC-90 was one of the most efficient and well-designed ships in the Galactic Civil War. But let's move on to something a little bit chunkier, and I want to talk about now the Mediator. So on screen, I'm showing you guys some footage again from Thrawn's Revenge. Now I will note, although this Mediator model is excellent, it's not an official model from Star Wars. It's not even an official design. It's based completely off artists working on the Thrawn Revenge team and their concept art. That being said, I quite like it, and I think it fits the idea of the Mediator quite well. First of all, we don't have any real size for the Mediator, but we know by the early New Jedi Jedi Order period that it was one of the New Republic's most powerful vessels. It's described as being extremely new and more powerfully armed and armored compared to the Mon Calamari Cruisers which came before it. Leia describes it as having pacifying effects. It's at Osarion and Ramamul helping to broker a peace, with the name Mediator thus being pretty appropriate. The Mediator served throughout the Yuuzhan Vong War as the centerpiece for New Republic fleets, and as I said, I really like this fan depiction from Thrawn's Revenge because I think it's a pretty reasonable look at what this type of ship might have looked like. It outpowers cruisers and most reasonably sized ships. It's the center of many battle fleets, but it's certainly not a dreadnought. It's not a dreadnought that is unlike the Viscount. The Viscount class is interesting because although it actually gets a lot of attention in secondary material, it's not actually very present in Star Wars books. I mean, the Viscount is mentioned a few times during the New Jedi Order, but that's pretty much it, and any other mentions are typically in the abstract. Turning into Thrawn's Revenge, the first Viscount class was a prototype and much smaller than the later full dreadnought-sized version, but still, even this ship alone would have been quite powerful. Again, we're getting the general idea of taking the good things of Mon Calamari Capital Ships, the shielding, the intelligently designed hull, the advanced sensor and computer systems, the weaponry, and just scaling it up. The Viscount, however, unlike other ships, is not only long, but also massive. The full-sized Viscount, which comes in at 17 kilometers long, is not as long as an Executor-class Super Star Destroyer, but is a lot heavier and certainly a lot more powerful. We've talked about this in the past, but the Viscount was designed as a general response to Imperial Super Star Destroyers. So just imagine something like an Executor class, but with everything, again, that a Mon Calamari Cruiser typically has to its advantage. Other than the Eclipse, I think the Viscount is probably the most singularly powerful ship which operated in the post-Endor era. The Viscount was a part of the Star Defender class, and there may have been other Star Defenders of other classifications built on planets like Corellia and Mon Calamari, but we really don't know. Still, I like to think of the Mediator, the prototype Viscount, the full Viscount, and this next ship as representing a pretty interesting time in Mon Calamari cruiser design, where large is good, powerful is good. The ships take the bluntness of Imperial battle cruisers and Star Destroyers, but add the elegance of Mon Calamari shielding and design. The last ship that I would call a part of this generation is the Mon Calamari Heavy Carrier, and unfortunately, we don't know a whole lot about this ship class. Again, I'm putting another representation up from Thrawn's Revenge here, but the Blue Diver is described in Legacy of the Force as seeming to be a pretty powerful vessel, and I think that there's probably other heavy Mon Calamari variants at this point as well. I'm sure there's a Mon Calamari Heavy Cruiser used by the GA because it seemed like they were militarizing. The Galactic Alliance also had several other powerful vessel types, including the Galactic class Battle Carrier, another ship that unfortunately we don't know a whole lot about despite having a very cool name. It also used the Megador, a Super Star Destroyer, what you could almost call a new generation of Imperial Star Destroyers, ISDs which had been refitted with more powerful weapons and internal interdiction systems, and I really wish we would have gotten more of this era. There was even apparently going to be an insert into the Essential Guide to Warfare about the battle carriers and the heavy carriers, including the Mediator and the Blue Diver used by the New Republic. In fact, I've even seen some images that were going to be included, which unfortunately I don't think I can share. But after this era, it seems like things trended to the smaller. Mon Calamari Cruisers took a drastic change by the time of the Legacy comic era, with the MC-140 being the current generation of Mon Calamari Cruisers, a ship which definitely didn't have the same weight or design of the Mediator, Viscount, or more. So definitely a unique little era in New Republic / Galactic Alliance history. I hope you guys enjoyed this exploration of it. I know some of this content ended up being redundant, and this video is kind of similar to ones we've done in the past, but I think the really cool footage from the mod Thrawn's Revenge, which I will link down in the description, made it worth revisiting. Anyways guys, that's all for now. Until next time, have a good one, be safe, and may the Force be with you.